Today, you're going to be using yesterday's planning to write up your work. So let's have a look at my planning and see what I've done. I know I've started with inverted commas because that's how I wanted my paragraph to start. I wanted the problem to be introduced straight away. This can't be difficult. Just go and get the key, I told him. That's what I wrote from yesterday. On this section, this is where his eyes watered, he shook and he yelled. So I'm thinking here, his eyes watered, and then I thought his whole body shook as he yelled. And I think that whole body does add a little bit more to it. Then I'm thinking with my word difficult and impossible, I'm thinking which should I use this time? But I think in both would work really, really well. So I put difficult and impossible, and I think that really works. His eyes watered, his whole body shook as he yelled, difficult, it's impossible. And we know that the word difficult is when something's hard, but impossible means it can't be done. So we can see us answering back, almost saying, no, it's not difficult, it's actually impossible. When he's carrying on speaking, he's telling me that the key is guarded by a three-tongued dragon. And I remember thinking, should I put a demon dragon or a terrifying dragon? But then I thought of a better word. I think the word fearsome is a really good word to use. So I've changed it to fearsome. The key is guarded by a fearsome three-tongued dragon. So can you see I've used my talk for writing, but I have actually changed it slightly. Make it even better, which you can do if you've done talk for writing. You do it with anything. You can always improve your work. I've not changed much there. I've just carried on with those sentences. So that's my talk for writing section done. So let's look at the notes I made yesterday, and there are the 2 wow sentences that I created. Let's look what I put through walking through the paths. I walked through the long curvy paths and reached his cave. It looked like an ordinary cave, but surrounding it was scorched grass. And I think the scorched grass would have been the fire coming from the dragon's mouth that would have marked the grass. This is a little section, you remember yesterday, where I was a little bit worried about this, if I would remember it. So I did my wow sentence, so I popped it in there. And it really reads well in with this. Just peeking out behind the cave was an enormous overgrown willow tree which stood lazily in the hot beaming sun. Now I do like this willow tree, so I've decided to do a little bit more in that section before I'm waiting for the dragging, so you can see what I've done. I knew I could hide in its branches which flopped to the ground like a gigantic hanging basket. Patiently and silently I waited for the dragon to leave its home. Now let's have a look which section now. So which one are we on now? I'm now waiting patiently, and they're the 2 words I wanted to use from yesterday, if you remember. So now I want suddenly the dragon's going to appear, and I'm going to use my senses there. But I'm thinking suddenly, could I use something else? So I've decided about an hour later. I think that works really well. About an hour later, I heard a huge roar and a dragon appeared. I could feel the heat coming from his red-hot scales. I could see his tongues, which were drooling with saliva. I could smell the leftover meat from his last meal. So that's quite a gory section, but I do like that. That sort of really is nice, nice words and nice vocabulary there. And this is the part where I popped in now. So I'm up to this part where you are terrified. Can you remember? I was scared, terrified. The dragon flew off, so I've now included my second wow sentence. So I'm just going to read it again. I could smell the leftover meat from his last meal. I stood terrified and dare not breathe. He stretched out his enormous, almost transparent red wings, which were partly covered in green slime, and flew into the scorching sky. So now the dragon has flew off. And we're moving on to the next paragraph. We're going to walk out of the tree and go into the cave. If you remember, they're all the words I wanted to include: the swaying branches that guarded me, cold, damp, dark, bare, whatever I want to use. Let's have a look. I carefully walked out of the swaying branches that had guarded me and searched the cave. The cave was dark, cold and very damp. So I've used lots of words there in that sentence. Now I'm going to look for it, but remember I can't find it at first, yeah? I'm going to notice something shiny, and I've got the word sparkling and shimmering. Let's see what I've used. As I looked around, I could see nothing, no key. I was just about to give up searching when I noticed something sparkling in the corner. I had found it. So I'm up to here now. This is the bit. We know it's no ordinary key. Floated into my hand. Let's have a look where I put that. It wasn't like an ordinary key though, as when I touched it, it floated above me and then gently fell into my hand. I held it tightly in my hand and ran. So we can see that I've got to the end of that paragraph. And remember, it's next week when you will be finishing off your story. You'll take the key back and you will go back to your own world. Now, you might want to look at it as soon as you've done it today and think, well, I might need to change it. I'm just looking, I've started with I knew I could, I carefully. So I'm thinking here, the top, I think I could have used something better. About an hour after walking through the long curvy path, I reached his cave, and I think that would add more to it. So you can also start editing today if you wish. You are going to look at it again tomorrow from the whole section and seeing what you can do, and we'll have a look at that next, ready for tomorrow. So let's look at that now then. So let's look at improving our work. So let's look how I'm going to improve my work. This can't be difficult. Just go and get the key. Not if I'm happy with that. I think I could add a little bit more there. This can't be difficult. Just go and get the key. I told him. His eyes watered and his whole body shook, and he yelled. Now yelled. Thinking now. Just go and get the key. We've got to find the key. So I think we need to change that word get. And also yelled. Would he yell if he was crying? I'm wondering if we should use cry instead. So I've just spotted those that I'm thinking, what can I add in? This would be difficult. So I decided that it can't be that difficult. It's only a key. Just go and find it. So I've added in it's only a key. And then instead get, I put find. Just go and find it. I think that word works better. And yelled, I've added cried instead. So I think just by adding those few words, I've made it even better. Now I'm looking at the last part of my paragraph, which I think I need some work doing. I think this is quite a weak part of my paragraph. It wasn't like an ordinary key though, as when I touched it, it floated above me and then gently fell into my hand. I held it tightly in my hand and ran. Quite like this. I held it tightly in my hand and ran, because I think that's what you would do in that situation. I'm just thinking though, I've got the word floated there. I think I really need an adverb to describe that, don't I? So I need to change that. And this is the bit I think I can add more in this section here. And I might take out that word though. I'm not sure if I like that or not. So in this section, I need to add to the sentence or add another sentence. And I need an adverb there. Let's have a look what I did to improve it, to see if it did improve. It wasn't like an ordinary key, as when I touched it, it floated softly above me and then gently fell into my hand. And as it did, a warm glow filled my entire body. I knew the key was waiting to be found. I had found it, and now I had to safely return it. I held it tightly in my hand and ran. So I think that's much better now. I've added adverb to it and also added all of that. So I've added more to the sentence, plus I've added another 2 sentences, and I think that reads much better. So tomorrow, when you are doing yours, just read it and see where you can add things. You might want to take some things out. It's entirely up to you. So that's tomorrow's work, and that will be it. that will be your story almost finished, and you'll be finishing it after half term. So hope you enjoy editing your work.